Hello, everybody. Welcome to Pursuit of Relentless podcast. You've got your host here, Elena, and today we are going to change some lives, and I'm super excited about that. I don't want to take that much time away from Helen, as I know she has a ton of value to add to you guys as an audience. So I get the opportunity to introduce Miss Helen Moses, and she is a voice and communication strategist. So teaching people how to speak their truth really is what I take from that. And I'm excited to hear about your journey. So welcome to the show and tell us how it all got started.
Thanks, Elena. It's really great to be here and share what I can. I love it. Changing lives today. Let's do it. So how I got into this, I have a background in speech language pathology or speech therapy. And I also am a classically trained singer. And I also have a little bit of experience in the public speaking sector. So I put all of those together and melded them into my business, which is called Speak Up Communications. And I got into it just because I kind of got jolted myself into it. I had been a season in my life as a stay-at-home full-time mom, not really staying at home, but a full-time mom. And my kids were old enough, but my husband got laid off from his job of 20 years. And we were looking at how are we going to have our benefits and support the family like that. I said, I got this. The kids are old enough now. I'm ready. And I went and tried to get a job in speech therapy. And I got first interviews, I got second interviews, but never an offer.
Interesting.
Yeah. I kind of think there was a little bit of divine work in that, because what I ended up doing also in that period of time when I wasn't getting an offer, my husband got a new job. Mm-hmm. And there were our benefits again. But here I was all like pumped and ready to go and make an impact and just be important, really, is where I was feeling. And then suddenly, I don't have to do that anymore. I felt quite deflated until it occurred to me I could start my own business. And so that's what I did. My husband was laid off in August of 2012. He got a new job in October of 2012, and I started my business in January of 2013.
Beautiful.
So I just felt this kind of thing inside of me that I know so many people feel, and I suspect you do too, of just there's more. There's more. I was created for more, to make a bigger impact, to affect more people, to help more people, to transform more lives. There's more. And I love being with my family, but I can do that and more. It's time.
Exactly. Yeah, that's beautiful. I felt the same way when I was an employee. For instance, I was like, everyone's told me, Elena, go to site, it's going to be awesome. And I was like, okay. And so I did that. Pardon me. And then it was just like, nope, this is not my end game. I was told to interview my future. And I will never forget that advice, because you look at the person who's been in your position for 10 or 20 or 30 years, and you go, okay, is that the life that I want? This is the lifestyle I'm creating based on the people that I'm going to be surrounding myself with. And I was looking around going, well, if they make it to 65, they're typically extremely obese. They hobble, like they're not able to walk properly, because it's such a painful career path. And I was like, this is not for me. And so I just knew it at that point. When I met the company I'm with now, it was literally just like, okay, I'm going to go make an impact now. Right. I was put here for something bigger. I knew it. And it was just like, how can I embrace who I am? Because I was shy. And it's so funny. I'll interview one of my my old bosses one day. His name's Kyle Ron. He's working with me on my team now. But when I first started in the financial industry, he was like, Elena, you were so shy and you would not sit in the front row, like it was I was the kind of person that would sit in the back and just be like, don't look at me, And I just knew that there was something better inside of me that I needed to just embrace and just go, okay, well, I don't know what's going on in there. I don't know what it's going to look like for me, but I knew that my voice would create an impact, and it has. And
Mhm.
so that's why I do the show, you know? So I'm so grateful to have people like you on with me, because it's people like you that are making a difference and teaching people how to, get out there and actually speak in a way that they're confident in. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. It's the voice. The voice is it's precious. And part of my mission in life is to, when I interact with people, leave them with this thought: I will not take my voice for granted.
Beautiful.
That comes from my speech therapy world, because I worked in a hospital setting with people who had brain injuries and really severe strokes, who were left with their ability to communicate uh, pretty incapacitated. So they would come into our unit and barely be able to even speak or follow one-step commands. Many of them were. A few were a little bit higher level, and I would work them through, but they always still needed additional speech therapy after they left our unit, because there's just so much about communication that one needs. But I just watched so many people who, together with their family, were one day talking and doing their normal life, and then the next minute they lost that foundational connection.
Yes.
And it's priceless. So a voice is the literal voice, like being able to make sounds and to speak, but it's also figurative in that it's us.
Yeah.
Your voice is like Elena's voice is Elena. It represents Elena, and Helen's voice represents Helen. And interestingly enough, our names, I think, have the same origin.
Interesting.
Elena and Helen, I think, are from the similar root, which means light.
Yes. Yep. Daughter of
And
love is what my name means.
it means what?
Daughter of love.
Daughter of love. Well, that's
Daughter of
beautiful.
love. Yeah. Which is
Yeah.
light, right?
Light.
Love is light.
Yeah, it is. It is. And interestingly enough, I married into my current last name, which is Moses. And Moses means to draw out. The Pharaoh's daughter named the baby Moses because she drew him out of the water. So I take that as a calling, that I'm here to help draw light out of other people. And I do that by helping them bring their voice to light and bring them out into the world so that they can make a bigger impact.
That's beautiful. I love that so much. And I wish I had your help 6 years ago. I was just like, what do you mean I have to stand on stage and talk for 2 minutes? Like, that was terrifying to me in the beginning. But it's so funny. Like, my biggest problem with my setup, for instance, is I'm too bright. Like, I'm too vibrant. It was so funny because I actually have to like dim down the lighting in order to look like a normal human. Because in most of my videos, I just have the sunlight, right? Because I'm like, yeah, I just want to sit in the sunlight and it's going to be beautiful. But it's interesting to see how sometimes you have to dim yourself down and just go, okay, right? This is good. But I think that when you can give people that gift, it's unlike anything that they've ever experienced.
It is life-changing. It's transformative. It's whatever. It just breaks my heart when I see people, perhaps like the ones you were talking about, who've been in that same career position, sitting there stagnant and physically and mentally and emotionally, just all of that stagnant. So it does break my heart. But I think, and you said, I'm just going to skip ahead to, you said you were terrified to speak for 2 minutes in front of people. You know that, I know probably know this, but speaking in public is like the greatest fear of humans. I'm not sure exactly if it's all across the world or if it's US or North America, but more people are scared of speaking in public than they are of death.
Right. Why do you think that is?
I think it's because, well, if you're dead, then you don't have to worry about what people are going to say about you because you're out of the picture. But I think the fear of public speaking is deeply rooted in the fear of being judged, the fear of rejection, the fear of looking like a fool. And like if I speak for these 2 minutes and I make a fool of myself, I'll never be able to recover. And I'd rather just be dead than having to live that life of regret and shame and embarrassment of the fool that I made of myself.
I will tell you, I made an absolute fool of myself. Because guess what I did? I cried on stage, right? But guess what that made me? Stronger.
Mm-hmm.
It made me more confident because I knew that I got through it. And
Yeah.
even if I cried, I was sharing my emotions. I was sharing my passion, my love, my excitement, and I was just like, wow, I did it.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Then it's done.
Yeah.
I hear it all the time, like, oh man, I have to, do a speech for my buddy's wedding, or I'm an MC. And I'm like, you're gonna have fun with it because you're a fun person. Like they're not gonna ask you to go and do something if they don't trust that you're gonna do a good job with it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So in
Yeah.
our business, you earn speaking time. And in the beginning, it's so funny. We have 2-minute speakers and it's like the Jeopardy music. So you're just waiting for people to, come and line up, and they each get their 2 minutes to tell what they love about our company and what they've learned so far. And those are two things that come from the heart. And when you speak from the heart, I find that you're able to make more of an impact because you're out of your head, right? You're able to just share like yourself with others. And that's so beautiful.
It is. A lot of my clients, the people that come to me, will say, I can't get out of my head when I'm speaking. And so we work on speaking from the heart. I have a saying that I call speak up with heart. And I even came up with an acronym for heart. So H is for honesty. You have to be truthful with yourself and everyone else. E is for empathy. You need to seek the other people's perspective and how it is that they came to be where they are.
Yeah.
And you be empathetic as you speak. A is for alignment. And that is being in alignment with who you are, the value of you, and what you stand for, what you believe in, your own values, as well as being in alignment with what you have to work with, your resources. So standing in alignment and speaking from that place. R is for resolve. That's that determination to just do it. That's where the confidence comes in. That's where knowing your purpose comes in. I have always advocate when possible, if you're speaking for a purpose, to know what that purpose is. And more people are going to listen to you if you speak with a purpose than if you're just randomly talking. And the T is for tone, because how you say what you say really matters too. Whether you come across as emotional. Yeah. So if I said, we talked earlier as we were preparing for today's podcast. So I could have said, I'm really looking forward to this event or to this conversation, which is pretty flat, pretty monotone. And you may or may not believe that I was really looking forward to it. I could also have been really tired at the time and just, I'm really looking forward to this conversation. So it could convey my energy level. I could have also been faking it, like I really wasn't, but I wanted you to think I was. So I came across like, I'm really looking forward to our conversation. And that's kind of overdoing it. But somewhere in the middle is the speak up with heart, which was, Elena, I'm really looking forward to this conversation. And so it's just the tone makes a lot of difference too.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's one thing that I see in my business in particular, in finance. People are terrified to talk to people. And I'm like, guys, how are we going to make a difference if we don't have a conversation? Right? If you don't talk to people, how are you supposed to make an impact?
And when you say they're not talking to people, are they not talking to people about finances, or they're just, tell me more, because I'm really curious.
Yeah, they're just really shy, right? They're like, oh, I don't want to inconvenience them. And I'm like, guys, if we can go out and change someone's life, why wouldn't you want to have a conversation with them? Right? If you can save someone money, how much of an impact is that going to make? right? So it's tying the action to the reward. Here's the action is making a phone call and talking to someone or meeting someone in person. But then the reward is you get to have the impact of changing that person's life forever. Right? Like, how cool is that? And I did not think that I would enjoy finance. I'm such a creative, like I'm a pastry chef by trade. And then I went
Oh,
into
wow.
industrial sales, and I just loved customer service. I loved building relationships and helping people. And then I went into finance and I was like, oh man, here we go. Like I was not in good financial shape whatsoever. And then I'm like, oh, I'm going to go be a financial advisor now. Yeah, because someone's going to want to deal with you, Elena. And then I was like, wait a minute. I have heart and I'm not going to screw people over. Right. So guess what happens when you do the right thing?
Yeah.
The rule of reciprocity applies. You give and you shall receive.
True.
Right. So I work on referrals. And now my business is booming because I do the right thing every time. And I don't do it for the money. I do it for the mission and the impact that I get to have on people's lives. And like, I have clients that they bought me a wedding present, or like, oh man, they'll just bring me flowers some days. And I'm like, oh, that's so lovely, right? And I think that when you can make that kind of impact and have the honesty and the empathy, and some of that stuff needs to be learned the hard way, right? I learned the hard way. I did it all wrong to make sure that I can teach it to other people how to do it right. But it's the same thing with speaking. When you're talking to people, you're going to mess it up sometimes.
Yes.
Big time.
We all do. We all do.
My mentor, Ed Milet, told me, he said, sometimes people just need to hear it from your voice, because the way that you say it, they're going to react to. And I can give you an example of that. So my husband is incredible. Like, he is such a good man. And he's like, Elena, you remember when I told you that? And I'm like, no. I'm not going to take advice from someone who's not an entrepreneur, you know? And then he's like, well, the same thing applies in success in another company. And I was like, huh, yeah, maybe I just needed to hear it from Ed Milet. Right? Maybe I just needed to hear it from someone else's voice, because that's my own ego kicking in, going, oh, you can't be smarter than me, you know?
Right. We have all these stories we tell ourselves that, and we're triggered, and it happens so fast that's why I think it helps for many people to be adding their voice to something that's worth knowing and hearing. Another example is kids.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Won't necessarily listen to the parents, but if somebody else outside of parenting can, share the same thing, then maybe they'll hear it from them. So it's good for all of us to put our own voice, our own perspective, and no one's voice is the same. So even if you and I were to say the same sentence and we could try to say it exactly the same way, we're still coming at it from totally different lives. I mean, you and I think have a lot in common, but we've had our own unique experiences, the people that we know, the problems we've solved and failed, and the physical makeup of our voice. And so something about the way I say it will resonate with someone else differently than how you say it would. It's just an important perspective to keep. And I'm glad you brought it up, because it's, even if someone else has said something, it doesn't mean that you're saying it won't have an impact.
Yes. I'm going to give you a hypothetical here.
Okay.
And give us some advice on what you would do.
Okay.
So I come across people all the time that are like, ooh, I couldn't do that. Like, no way I'm going Facebook Live. No way I'm putting myself out there, right? What would you say to those people when it comes to, for instance, marketing in your business, or building leadership, for example?
Well, I wouldn't just go right to them and say, oh, yes, you can. Because usually those people, if I did that, they're going to have those stories inside their heads triggering, and their resistance is just going to grow.
Yes.
So I try to meet those people where they are. And my counselor, I go to a counselor still. She's amazing. And one of the things she said to me a while back was, What's the worst thing that could happen if your fear comes through, like someone's fear of a Facebook Live? What's the worst thing that could happen if you did one and it didn't go like you hoped it would?
Right.
And that's a good technique, because then the next question they say, well, oh, okay, well, maybe I would look ridiculous or sound ridiculous. And someone might comment, you look or sound ridiculous. But it's sometimes when you think it through, what's the worst thing that could happen? It's not that bad, because the next question is, can you live with that?
Yeah.
And if you can, then why would you avoid doing it if you know that it can have a positive outcome?
Yes.
I actually did teach someone how to do a Facebook Live once. We were both in the same coaching group, and she hadn't done one and she was nervous about that. And I said, would you like to try it right now? What if I went live on my phone and had you in it, and I can tag people, and you could be live on my Facebook Live video for the first time? And that worked out really well. And she came on with me and then decided, okay, I'm ready to try one on my own. So that's another way that I might approach it and encourage someone, if they're nervous, well, come in with me. So it's my video, it's my Facebook Live, and you're my guest. And then you'll get to see what it's like from the inside.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I think that you never know the power of one conversation either.
Mm-hmm.
So I never in a million years thought I would be in the financial industry in my entire life. I never thought I'd be a podcaster. I never thought I'd be publishing a book, right? I never saw that vision for myself until I did. And I think that when you can tell yourself every single day what you're creating and paint this beautiful picture of it in your head, you're able to manifest it. And like for myself, I'll rewrite my goals every few months, for instance, because I know that the way that I have written it one day is going to be totally different than the way that I'm going to speak that truth another day. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when you tell yourself something and it's so unbelievable, it's just getting over yourself. You just got to get over yourself sometimes.
Yeah.
So I tell myself, I want a certain cash flow. I want to build a treehouse yoga studio. I want to have a team of 10 frontline SMDs in the next 2 years. I want to have, like these incredible leaders in my organization who are going out and changing the world. And I'm like, I have this vision, and it's now just raising my identity to match that vision. Right. And then I think when you raise your identity and you start to have that belief in yourself, which what you do helps people a lot with that kind of stuff, but you're able to just create this incredible picture of what you want in your life. So like March 29th, I wrote this. It says, today is the start of something beautiful. I'm continuing to do the work and push through my insecurities. I deserve to win because my energy inspires the world to move towards better. It's time to embrace my full potential. Like, if I talk to myself like that, do you think that I'm going to be like, oh, this is terrible. Do this. No, man, you're sitting there going, I am awesome.
Yes, I am. Yeah, it's so empowering. Now, and you read that out loud just now, but you actually do read that out loud to yourself?
Twice a day.
Awesome. Because if you didn't, I was going to suggest that. And that's one thing I just wanted to just amplify from what you just said.
Yes.
When we speak something out loud, it has the power to manifest. Mm-hmm. And I just recently learned this from another speaker who was at an event where I was also a speaker. And it makes sense based on all I've learned about the voice and all how it works. But I just hadn't put it together. And what she said was that your voice, when you speak out loud, moves every atom, every cell of your being before the sound of your voice reaches the audience.
Wow.
So it moves you and it moves them because it shifts the energy in the air. It changes things.
Yes.
And so when we speak it, boom, that's power.
Yeah, I love that. I learned that through Joe Dispenza. I was doing a meditation seminar with him, but it wasn't just about meditation. It was about understanding vibration and understanding that our bodies are machines of energy, right? So if we're putting out positive energy, we're going to attract positive energy. And I'll tell you, when I was in my negative, super negative mindset, because I had some traumas in my life that were the hardest things I've ever had to deal with in my life.
Yeah.
And I was like, all I can do is control my attitude and my activity, right? So all I can do is read a book. All I can do is go for a walk. All I can do is reflect on the progress that I've made. All I can do is find gratitude that I have a voice today, right? And when you're in those moments, it's hard to just sit there and go, everything's going to be okay. But if you look at where you came from, for example, a stay-at-home mom, right? I meet a lot of stay-at-home moms, and I meet a lot of single parents, for example, and people that are just like, well, I can't go do that. And I'm like, not with that belief level.
No.
Come on. It's just so good. Like, you just got to go for it sometimes and just embrace that version of yourself that is so beautiful and so true to you, because you never know what you're going to create. And I think when people can just step into that space of putting themselves past that comfort zone, then they will create that change for themselves. So I think the listeners should go back and listen to the last 5 minutes for sure, and take some notes on that and just really reflect on what it means to you to be successful, what it means to you to create this incredible life for yourself. Because if you don't have that vision of where you're going, how are you supposed to achieve it? You're not just going to fall into it, right? Like, you have to create it.
You have to know what it is and speak it.
Yeah, it's so important to speak it. I love that my mentors told me to read my goals twice a day. And in the beginning, it was like, I want to hit this many licenses. I want to have this many points on the system. I want to have this many podcasts, and it was very, let's just say, boring. It was boring, because guess what? That stuff doesn't actually motivate me. Right? So when you're speaking your goals, make sure that they mean something to you, that it makes your heart move, right?
Yeah.
That you're feeling it, and then that you're like giving your energy to yourself, because you have to be your biggest cheerleader, right?
You do. And when you speak it out loud, it's a good test. How do you feel when you speak it? Does it motivate you to want to do more of it? It's a good test.
Yeah. There's a gentleman in our business, his name's Cameron Michaud, and seriously, the guy has a severe stutter, like severe stutter. He played us a video of him at like 12 years old trying to stand in front of his class when his teammates were throwing stuff at him, and like they were just so rude, right? And just awful to him because he had a speech impediment. And yet now he's a public speaker. Like, he gets up in front of people all the time and just goes, I'm not going to let that hold me back. I just have to be extra prepared. So I avoid certain words, and I avoid, different directions that I'm going to go. So I try not to get sidetracked on my conversations. And I was like, holy, you are so prepared, like so prepared. And I love that about him. He prepares like a lawyer, right? And when you speak the things that you're trying to get across to people, you help solidify that in your mind, that that's what's good too, Yeah. So
good stuff.
I know, I'm like, I just need to pause. I'm like, yeah, I take that in. But I would love to hear if you had hard times, like if there were any examples of times that you were like, man, I don't know if I'm going to get through this. Like, oh, what do you mean I have to go do this crazy coaching and stuff like that? Were there any moments like that for you in your career so far? I know there's got to be at least a couple, but
yeah, there are definitely several of them. Well, I guess the one that's coming to mind, because of your job, is a financial piece. I, in my business, was not making a profit. starting, I was still kind of part-time with it when I started, because I was transitioning out of that main mother role, and still wanting to be there for my children after school. But I didn't have a vision of what my business was going to be. But other people would say you need to make 6 figures. And I thought, well, okay, I'm certainly not there. I'm really like, at that point I was maybe making $8,000 or $9,000. Anyway, I started paying for coaching and extra things, which wasn't the only thing that was adding up to my debt, but I ultimately ended up with massive business debt. And I got to the point where I was running out of credit, and didn't know where else to turn. And my husband and I have been married it'll be 25 years this summer.
Wow.
It's pretty awesome. He's a pretty awesome guy too. And I was in this state because I didn't have a vision. I look back and I'm like, I didn't have a vision. I was just spending money, thinking, okay, this is what people would say, you have to spend money to make money. I'm like, okay, I'll invest in this and that'll be the thing. And of course I learned much about it. I developed a lot from what I was learning, but I didn't know how to stop it until I got to the point where I couldn't spend anymore, because I had run out of room on all the credit cards I had and line of credit and everything. So my husband, I couldn't tell him this. He didn't know. And I couldn't tell him because of shame, such shame and such guilt. And is he going to be mad? Is he going to want to leave me? Is he going to, all these thoughts. And it was eating me up inside, to the point that he finally came to me and said, what is going on? He may have thought I was having an affair, or I don't know what he was thinking, but it was affecting my daily voice. I couldn't, it was just like hesitant. I didn't feel my ability to move forward in life. And ultimately I told him what was going on. And of course he was shocked. But then after he took a few days to think about it, and then he worked with me and we had a path. And so we were able to state a vision of what we wanted my debt to be, and ultimately how to get it down and how to spend less, and a plan for it. And not that I am I still got a ways to go. I still have some things with money. Ironically, I'm talking with you about this, but I still have some things that I think are limiting my ability to be wealthy or wealthier. So I'm working on that. And this conversation is actually very much aligned with the work I'm doing on that right now. But that's one example, is probably one of the hardest things I went through, that has to do with what we're talking about, that I didn't have a vision. I didn't know how to speak up for myself at that point. I didn't even know how to speak up for myself to say no to some of these things I spent the money on.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you right now, there are so many people out there that are in the same boat, that are scared to talk to their spouses, or they're scared to even look at where their finances are at. Yeah. And that was me. Mm-hmm. That's why I love what I do so much, because I can go, okay, guys, I've been there. You don't need to be ashamed. Guess what? You're sitting in my office right now. You're talking to me about it. You're getting out of your comfort zone and going, we can do this. I know I need help. I know I need some guidance or a plan or whatever it is, but how are you supposed to create a plan if you don't know what you're trying to accomplish? Get out of your own way and let someone help you. Don't be afraid to ask for help, because I think that when we're struggling and we're having a tough time, we think we're alone. Mm-hmm.
So true. We all do. And that's why sharing stories like that with each other, telling your story, that's another important use of your voice.
Yes.
Because your story is very valuable. Mm-hmm. What you've learned in a way that no one else could learn. Now, maybe it's very similar to my story and your story financially, but we all learned it a different way. We got to it because of different set of circumstances. but we can learn from each other. And it's very empowering when one can tell their story and talk about what they did to overcome it.
Yes.
So voicing your story is also an important thing to do. And using your voice to ask for help is something people aren't very good at either.
So true. I'm like, that's me
And
most days. I'm like, dang it, I know I need help, but it's
so that's another encouraging a thing I have for you is for all of the people listening is use your voice to ask for help because you can, and people want to help.
people want to help you. Period. They do. I love that in my business, I can literally call someone who's been in the business for 20 years and go, hey, how'd you do this? How would you have this conversation with someone? Right? How do you tell someone that they're living beyond their means without being a big bitch? Like, how do you push that person to take a look at where they're at and go, hey, if I want to get to here, I need to do this, 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 right? Versus going, you need to do this. And I look at traditional industry in most industries, and it's the only way that the people are treated is badly from their bosses. And there was one girl who posted on social media this morning, and I was reading it, and she's like, man, I'm going to file a lawsuit against this guy. Like, he's such a bully. And I'm like, why are you still working there? Do not put up with that. Like, yes, you need to feed your family. I'm not telling you to go quit your job today, but I think that if you can focus on getting out of that situation, do it. You know, like, don't let people pick on you. Don't let people talk down to you, because most likely they're just having a bad day. You know,
That's so key. You know, if you stop when someone says something to you and you feel like, well, they're a bully. Well, what if you took a minute to ask yourself, what could have happened in their lives or in their day that would have led them to say that in the tone in which they said it or using the language that they used? And that's the empathy piece that in the Speak Up with Heart.
yeah.
Because people learn that kind of behavior from parents and grandparents and other adults in their lives, and when they're a child and when they're an adult. But I don't think when it comes down to it that most of us really want to come across as a bully. I think most of us don't.
Yeah.
And when we take the time to see the other person as a human being, then sometimes that will allow a bridge to repair a relationship or a working situation. Sometimes you can see from their perspective, and it's still very important to find a way to leave that situation. But that's just something you can do that may make it easier in the transition if you're a person out there who's struggling because of a boss or a situation that feels oppressive or bullyish, until you can do that. And then those of us who are in the position to hear the people who say, I'm stuck, I'm being bullied, I can't do it, I can't imagine myself, I don't want to speak up, I don't want to talk, I don't want to work on my money. We need to also just accept them right there where they are, and not push too hard. Because I know that myself, when people would try to say, you just do this, do that, do that, it's easy. I never say that to anybody, that it's easy. I'm not talking about stuff that's easy, but I'm talking about stuff that can change your life.
Yeah. My mentor says, I didn't tell you it was going to be easy. I told you it was going to be worth it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, man, like,
Yeah.
it's so true. Because I can't go into a conversation going, this is going to be so easy. No, man, it ain't going to be easy. It's going to be the hardest damn thing you've ever done in your entire life, being an entrepreneur. And guess what? When it's not working, it's not working. But ask for help, because maybe someone else is in the position where they made that work and they can help you. And guess what I've found when it comes to wealthy people? They want to help. They want to help. They do. They want to see you empowered, because when you have all the wealth in the world, for example, what else? What else gives you fulfillment? In the beginning, yeah, a lot of people are driven by money and fame and all of that kind of stuff, recognition. But when it comes down to it, all of those boxes are checked all the time. That person no longer wants those things. They want contribution. They want love. They want acceptance. Right? And I think that when you can just embrace who you fully are, you open yourself up to accept love, and you open yourself up to accept success because you believe you deserve it.
Amen to that.
Woo! I am talking to myself right now. I'm like, yeah, I need to do that more often.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. But I think that when people can definitely just like step into, okay, this is what I need to do to help myself get to the next level today, whether that's doing a Facebook Live or just making a post, or just like calling someone out of the blue and going, hey man, how's your week going? Like there's so much power in that because they're like, you thought of me. That's a big deal.
Yeah. And the phone is becoming so outdated these days that it's like it's back. It's a leg up. It's an advantage. If you use your voice to call somebody today, that's more unusual than it used to be. And so therefore you'll stand out.
Yes. And it's so powerful because guess what? Do you think you can convey emotion over text message?
Emojis try, but they really can't cut it.
No, because people, you can't transfer energy over the phone. Like you can't over a text message. I mean, you can't transfer your energy to someone else just by like going, hey man, hope you have a good day. Again, monotone, right? Yeah, okay, Elena. Versus me sending a voice memo going, hey man, I hope you have an awesome day. I'll make sure to give you a shout back later because obviously you're busy right now. Talk to you soon. Right?
Yep.
Something like that versus going in with just like a random text message. Or I love it. My team loves me for it too, I think.
I'm sure they do.
I do like video clips instead of like if I know that they're like sleeping on night shift or something like that, I'll just send them like a 10-second video clip that's encouraging or like telling them whatever I need to get across to them, because then they feel excited about it and they can feel my tone and the way that I am trying to lead them, right? Because especially in the digital age now, it's able to, make an impact all the way across the world. So if you can just have that one-to-one conversation with someone, you can make a way bigger impact because you can actually transfer your energy to them. So if someone's having a bad day, why do you think they love it when you phone them?
Yeah.
Right? Because they just need someone to talk to.
Yes. So true.
Anyways, we have covered a whole bunch of things today. And but we got to wrap it up here. So I want people to make sure that they can get access to you. So where can they find you?
The easiest place to find me is by going to my website, which is helenmoses.com. You can reach out to me through the Contact Us page, but also you can check me out on Facebook. My business page is Helen Moses, Your Voice Coach. And you can like or follow the page there. Or I'm on Instagram. You can find me on Instagram, Helen Moses Voice Coach, I think is what it is. You can find me there. And I'm also on LinkedIn. So you can find me there and reach out. Tell me you heard me on this podcast.
Yeah, totally. I love that. Awesome. Well, thank you again for being here today. I got a ton of value and I know that everyone else did too. I can't wait to go back and listen to this again and just go through it. But make sure that you state your vision, guys. Put it in writing and read it out loud every single day, because when you do that, you create movement, you create change, and you create belief in your life. So again, thank you for being here. That is Pursuit of Relentless signing out.